I didn't even get to the fire service until I was 32.
Oh, wow.
And I think the reason being is that, I grew up around this area, and I don't know about you, but I think many of the guys in the fire service, there's a reason why they're comfortable in chaos. Is that I feel like when you actually start talking to guys, they grew up in a chaotic environment. And that was for sure for me. We were in LA, and I had parents. My dad was an alcoholic. My mom had drug issues, and it was survival, right? Survival mode was normal. And I'm not a victim. I think it built resiliency, and I think, we figured it out. But we were the 80s kids, 80s, 90s kids, latchkey kids, and you just did what needed to be done. And I had 3 sisters and 2 brothers, and we just, you just did what you needed to be done. But I knew at a very early age that, like, I swore to myself I would never want to be like those people, right? And so I was really active in trying to say, like, I'm going to do a different path. I'm going to be fit. I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to be a businessman. I'm going to do all this stuff. But the reality was I went right here to Cal State Long Beach and had goals of playing soccer and graduating. And I really just partied. I think the first time I was ever free from the responsibility of being the big brother in a chaotic environment, I did exactly what I said I would never do. And it was creepy, right? It was like, hey, there was fun. There was a lot of fun. I was partying, going to college life, joined a fraternity. And then there was fun with problems where I'm like getting in trouble at school, getting kicked off the soccer team. And then within a very short period of time, it was just problems. Like every time I said I didn't want to drink and I did anyways, I just continued to drink. And before you know it, I was kicked out of school. I was kicked off the soccer team, and I was a bartender in Long Beach right here. And all the green dreams, goals, aspirations, whatever you want to say, were just gone. And I was just bartending. So I didn't have a degree, didn't have anything to do. And the only thing I thought to do is that I privately hated myself for doing exactly what I swore I would never, ever, ever do. But I got a real estate license, and I was like, you know what? That's it, John. We were broke growing up, and I'm like, I was absolutely broke on the streets of Long Beach. I was laughing today because I remember the street sweeping in Long Beach vividly. Like, right. I had like a $500 Dodge Horizon, right? And I had so many parking tickets because Long Beach, dude, it's every Friday, every Thursday. And I would get so many parking tickets, my car would get towed and I'd have no money to get it out. I was just broke. I was broke and drunk and just out of control. And I was getting in a lot of trouble. And my thought was to get a real estate license and be a realtor, go into mortgage lending, and like, finances will save. That's what I need. I need to get money, it'll get me out of this hole. And so it was interesting. I did get a real estate license, and I did start interviewing. I had no college degree, but I'm like, hey, you can do something. And it was the run up before the 2008 crash. And I got a job up in Camarillo, Ventura area for Washington Mutual Bank doing mortgage lending and real estate. And dude, I started getting some checks, right? And so for the first time ever, I was able to buy a new car. I met my wife at the time. Things were going good. But wherever I moved, I didn't realize that there I would be, right? And I was doing the same stuff I was doing on the streets of Long Beach, just now in a shirt and tie with a new car. And once again, I found myself in those dark holes when you wake up hungover, puking, doing the whole thing, going, why did I do this again? And I think because of my experience growing up and seeing how they lived their life, and I didn't want to, I wanted desperately to have a family. I wanted desperately to have a stable wife and a stable home and a stable job and like kind of that family, that iconic family unit that we never had, right? And so I was 23 and I had kind of that, whatever you call it, that moment of clarity, moment of whatever that said, this isn't the way. I swore to myself I would never be like this, and here I am. And I asked for help. I asked for help for the first time in my life. Instead of saying, I'll figure it out. We're good. I'll figure it out. I asked for help. And I got help at like 23, and I've been sober ever since. But it wasn't until about 7 or 8 years in to me being sober where I was like, what the hell do I really want to do for a living? Before like alcohol and crime took over, what did I want to be when I was a kid? And I always have that. I have an iconic picture because we grew up in LA, standing next to a city rig, and we're standing next to a city rig. They have the light blue city shirts on back in the day, and I have that smile from ear to ear, you know, as the 6, 7-year-old kid standing next to the rig, you know what I mean? And I was like, that's kind of what I always envisioned, is being a fireman. And I think I could be of service. And I think all the things that, you know, you think about trying to be a fireman. And so I like had to go back to school, and I said, hey, right then the mortgage thing just melted down. Everybody got laid off. Nobody had a job. We went from balling out to broke overnight. And it was at a crossroads where we didn't have kids yet. And I told my wife, hey, I think this is an opportunity. I want to go all in on the fire thing. And that means you have to go get 2 jobs. I have to work during the day and go to a fire school at night and do a fire academy at night. And we did all the things, you know what I mean? And it was a grind, an absolute grind. But I think because I was sober, because I had a purpose, I had a new plan, and I was really driven. But you remember the time at '08, nobody was hiring.
Right, yeah.
I actually got 100 on Cities Oral, and they actually got a tower date at the time. And then they said, I told my work, hey, I'm out of here. I quit. I'm going to be a firefighter with LA City. And you had to do the background, so they kind of knew. But then I remember getting a call from somebody in your HR that said, hey, we're on a permanent hiring freeze. And I don't think you guys hired for like 6 more years after
that.
Yeah, it was
a long time. I think everyone went through that stage. And that's when I went on that same journey at that same time. And it was just like, there's no way, no how anyone's getting hired.
Nobody.
They were closing down stations. They were closing down companies at every single department. So it was a challenge, you know? So I think people who were in that era,
yes,
they have more gratitude, you know, for who had the job now, because it took 100%. A lot of work, and it was quite the journey.